What's up, guys? It's your boy Zawoki back out with another Zawoki video. But today's video is the first of a new playlist I like to call Zawoki Conspiracy Theories. And what we're going to be looking at is conspiracy theories over a vast majority of different genres when it comes to the moon landing, the John F. Kennedy assassination, pyramids, did the aliens help, 9/11. I mean, we're going to continue on the conspiracy theories galore. And I wanted to do this many years ago, and I'm starting now. And the biggest one that I think that I want to get into, and again, I want to say this highly that I'm going to be doing this respectfully and to honor those that lost their lives, including in the 9/11 attacks. I remember myself being, what was it? Seventh grade geography class when we were told that one of the World Trade Center buildings was attacked. And then we saw that the Pentagon had been attacked. And then we saw the second building get attacked. We saw the other plane flying down into the Pennsylvania. I can't remember exactly what area, but that I do believe was either supposed to hit the White House or the Capitol. Or the Congress building. It was one of those buildings that was supposed to get hit, never did. But with that being said, if you guys could do me a favor and subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting that wiper icon down at the bottom right, hit the bell icon next to it. So when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I've posted that video. And then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, I thank you guys all for being here. We're trying to get to 100K, so I need your guys' help. And then we were watching the top 5. I love the top 5. I'm getting into it, nitty gritty, right in the bat, and the deep dive rabbit hole of the conspiracy theories of 9/11. Now, before we dive into this, my opinion is 9/11 was unfortunately rigged for us to go to war. I'm trying to find the word so I don't tip in the wrong direction here. I felt that during Bush's administration, he wanted to follow the footsteps or continue the footsteps of his father, Senior George W. Bush. And we're just going to watch the video first. Again, it's just my thought that it was rigged. There is things that we are missing. There is things that we don't see. The building itself was rigged with thermite. I could go on, but we're going to start this rabbit hole of 9/11 theories to lead us down the deep rabbit hole. So with that being said, let's get into the video. And again, I am doing this respectfully. I am going to be doing this factual. I'm not going to be going into things that are not facts and so forth because I want to find out the truth. I don't want anybody to think that I am being disrespectful towards the thousands of lives that were taken that day. I feel that America definitely changed when this happened. And I don't feel that we've ever been the same since. So let's get into it.
September 11th, 2001. The world changed forever. We all know what happened on that day. Nearly 3,000 people lost their lives in what is considered to be one of the largest terrorist attacks on innocent civilians since records began. The shocking scenes from that day in New York City still haunt us and are constantly replayed when discussing the events, the victims, and the conspiracy theories that followed.
I couldn't imagine the people that jumped because they were so terrified what was inside that building that led them to jump. That's what is another upsetting thing. Or the people, the firefighters and the police officers that were not gigantic. I'm not going to say gigantic heroes, but they were the heroes that went into there to save as many lives as they could. They deserve medal. They deserve Medal of Honors. They deserve, their families deserve to be paid like forever because of their valor and their determination to save as many as they could. And I want to see the World Trade Center memorial one day, but I heard it's very, very emotional and so forth. So,
In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 conspiracies that still rumble on all
5?
these years later. Was it a controlled explosion?
Yes.
Was there a secret agenda?
Yes.
Who knew about the attack? It's time to go back to September 2001, when life as we knew it would unfortunately take a dramatic.
They said it was so hot when this happened in the explosion area. The only way that it could have been done was thermite. And if you don't know what thermite is it's an explosive that burns so hot that it just melts steel, and it just, like, they literally said that they saw thermite burns when they were cleaning, which took months to take care of. And another one is the theory is there was a building which was World Trade Center 11, had so many documents inside that I can't remember what the documents were, but this building was like blocks away, and for some reason it went down as well. That documents that needed to be hidden apparently and just were completely destroyed. It's just another theory that's like, why did the World Trade Center happen? Was those documents needed for some reason? Were those documents going to be publicly announced? Like, there's so many different avenues of what ifs. Like, what about this? What about this? Like, the thing that bothers me too is the Pentagon, when the plane went into there, they didn't find many plane parts. It's like, okay, why are we not finding tons of plane parts? Again, I'm not a professional. I'm just stating my opinions.
And sinister turn. Now, we could talk about this stuff for hours, but we're going to keep this video relatively brief and just skim over 5 of the most common theories. If you'd like us to go more in depth on each of these theories, then perhaps we'll do an exclusive podcast episode on them. But let us know in the comments below. Let's begin.
Number 5.
Was it a controlled demolition?
Yes.
Before we begin, we'd like to take a moment to remember those innocent souls who died on that day. From the victims who worked in the towers, to the terrified men, women and children on board the planes, and to the brave heroes of the emergency services who did everything they could to help. Their lives and sacrifices will never be forgotten.
Never.
Our aim of this video is not to disrespect. We are simply presenting 5 conspiracies that have sparked debate since that day. We're not saying we believe or disbelieve any of these, just presenting you with the information so you can make up your own mind.
It's pretty much what I do them for, and my reactions.
The following claim is that the whole ordeal was somehow planned as a controlled demolition. The World Trade Center buildings were fully erected and operational back in 1973, and were the highlight of the New York City skyline for decades. One could not miss the enormous Twin Towers, as they were often a separate character in films, television shows, and promotional artwork for the city that never sleeps.
You saw them in
However, on
every
9/11,
old movie.
The towers would fall, causing devastation, panic, and terror amongst the population of the city, as well as its iconic backdrop. The majority of people believe the events that unfolded were a result of the planes crashing into the towers, which had earlier been hijacked by Al-Qaeda terrorists. Yet many skeptics have opposed this narrative by pointing to the mysterious cloud puffs.
They've said there's rumors about the planes being holographic or holograms. I think that's a little far-fetched, like that we're in a whole bunch of different camera angles. You could hear the jets. I think the jets that went into World Trade Center were a distraction towards the demolition of the thermite that was in there. They just wanted us to look. Oh, look, planes went in there. They collapsed because of that reason. But I think there's another agenda that was needed, which is what he's talking about right now.
of smoke that appear to emerge from each of the floors of the towers as they collapse to the ground. Theorists believe this distinction is definitive proof that the towers were deliberately brought down by controlled explosive devices, which had previously been inserted into the columns of the buildings prior to the attacks. The specifics behind the theory suggest that a special type of pyrotechnic composition of metal powder and metal oxide known as thermite was involved. The chemical, when ignited by heat or chemical reaction, goes through an exothermic reduction-oxidation reaction. This creates brief bursts of heat within small areas.
Thousands of degrees.
Metal. Many believe that thermite was secretly painted on the steel beams.
Look how the way it falls.
The towers, in order to destabilize and render them weak to collapsing. You've probably heard people say that jet fuel cannot melt steel beams, and this is where the thermite theory comes from. The theory has been rejected by many, who state that thermite itself would be unable to ignite or sustain a reaction under the weight and structural conditions of the towers. They support this hypothesis by claiming that the building's collapse appears on the face of it to look like a demolition job, due to the middle sections being severely compromised. The east side of the towers fell in on themselves, followed by the west side, before the floors dramatically collapsed at speed to the ground below. While it may look like a series of small explosions, technicians claim that the air blended with multiple tons of pulverized concrete discharged outwards as each floor collapsed, therefore appearing like a controlled detonation. However, thousands of structural engineers have signed a petition to state that never in history has a building fell down due to fire, and that it is structurally impossible for the towers to have been brought down by planes alone. A video.
I was told from a engineer buddy, that yes, it would have got hot. It would have been significantly bad in there. But those towers should have never gone down with those planes that ran into them. It just wouldn't have happened. It would have been not structurally sound, but they would have been able to somewhat repair if they had to go in after the fire had been whatever extinguished and so forth. But the towers should have never gone down with the jets that hit them.
Which is often hidden or hard to find on media platforms, shows two firefighters discussing the aftermath of the devastation. They are covered in blood, dust, and appear genuine in their response to questions by the interviewer, who asks them what they witnessed as first responders. The men claim that they heard explosions before the towers collapsed, and believe that they were choreographed detonations. Though the video has given strong credence to the argument, it is yet to be verified and confirmed. Then there's Building 7, which we'll talk about in a separate video, and the story
11?
Of demolition expert Danny Jowenko, who stated that World Trade Center 7 was brought down by controlled demolition. He happened to die under mysterious circumstances years later, but again, we'll save that for another video.
What?
Insider traders knew. Another widespread theory within the conspiracy community is that Wall Street stock traders were aware of the pending events before they occurred, thus allowing them to invest and manipulate the stock market to their advantage. This theory is quite easy to believe due to the preconceived stereotypes and culture of greed that is normally despised and associated with the finance capital of the United States of America. Theorists continue to state that just before the terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center, an extraordinary amount of put options were placed on United Airlines and American Airlines stock. Investors tend to buy put options when they are concerned that the stock market will fall. A put gives them the right to sell an underlying asset at a fixed price through a predetermined time frame,
and bad.
Something that will most likely increase in value when the price of its underlying asset goes down. It's believed that a handful of people on Wall Street knew of the plans to attack the towers, or of the aforementioned demolition story, and so placed their money on the aptly named Fear Index. Such claims have led to a deep investigation and analysis on the possibility that rich investors and the so-called fat cats of America's finance sector controlled the economy in the build-up to and wake of 9/11. In finance, a put-to-call ratio is a technical indicator demonstrating investor sentiment. The ratio represents a proportion between all of the put options and all the call options purchased on any given day. This indicator was applied to United Airlines and American Airlines, both of which had planes that were hijacked by terrorists. It is reported that 4,744 put option contracts were placed on United Airlines, along with 396 call options by the Chicago Board Options Exchange. It's reported that the investment banking company Citigroup Inc. had approximately 45 times the normal volume 3 days before the attack. Its share fell $1.25 to $38.09. Morgan Stanley, which occupied 22 floors at the World Trade Center, had larger trading of options before the events and profited when stock prices fell. Due to this suspicious activity amongst the financial giants of America, the Securities and Exchange Commission launched an inside trading investigation where they looked into Al-Qaeda's ringleader Osama bin Laden. It was suspected that the mastermind of the terrorist attacks had been receiving information and advice from one, possibly more Wall Street companies in the lead up to the event.
And I don't know if how much validity this is, but I heard that George W. Bush apparently had a meeting / dinner with said person in front of our faces. Again, I don't know if that's factual or if it's rumored, but I heard that was up in the air.
In the end, the 9/11 Commission concluded that any unusual activities and/or economic patterns were entirely coincidental. The Commission stated in their report that exhaustive investigations by the Securities and Exchange Commission, FBI, and other agencies have uncovered no evidence that anyone with advanced knowledge of the attacks profited through securities transactions. The unfortunate and terrifying possibility of insider traders colluding with terrorist organizations or profiting from their atrocities is an unforgivable concept, yet it's easy to believe in today's world. What do you think? Coincidence or truth?
I never heard about the Wall Street. Number 3. What other ones could there be?
The Pentagon theories. Perhaps the lesser discussed event that took place on 9/11 was the attack on the headquarters of the United States Department of Defense, also known as the Pentagon. Based in the capital, Washington, D.C., there have been many theories and discussions surrounding how and why the building was attacked. One of the claims states that it was not struck by American Airlines Flight 77, but by a missile fired by the US government itself. Skeptics argue that much like the attacks in New York City on the same day, that the government was behind the occurrence, staging the events and using fake witnesses and actors, CGI graphics, and carefully choreographed explosives to give the impression that the government building was attacked. Though many say this theory is disproved by the plane's flight data recorder and radar footage, not to mention the families of the victims who perished on that day. There are many people who believe that there was something else going on entirely. In terms of the numbers and mathematics relating to the attack,
I can tell you right now, somebody's going to answer for all this in the future.
a Boeing 757 commercial airliner measures 125 feet wide and 155 feet long. Yet the initial report stated that after the plane hit the building, an entry hole of 16 foot across and an exit hole of 12 foot wide was recorded. If this was the case, then the official version of events can be called into question.
That's not the
However,
same size.
It was later declared that this was a misreporting error, with the official ASCE Pentagon Building Performance Report estimating the hole at the outer E-ring of the Pentagon's reinforced concrete walls was approximately, and more realistically, 75 foot across. The response continues that the reason Flight 77's dimensions were not fully calculated was due to the fact that one of the plane's wings fragmented upon impact on the ground, whilst the other wing detached completely from the Boeing 757 itself. This counterclaim is understandable, as the wings themselves would be too lightweight to crash and pass through the reinforced concrete of the Pentagon's structure, thus resulting in a smaller destructive hole. However, another suspicious claim was made by those who question the events of September 11th. It points to the sheer lack of aircraft debris described and illustrated in the official photographs and documentation. which were taken after the plane had struck. A plane the size of a Boeing 757 would surely have left a massive area of debris, especially as it
See,
struck a highly protective
looking at that, it don't look like no plane went in there. I'm sorry, but it don't look like
surface
it.
wall of a government building. This detail has led many to label the evidence as bogus. Alan E. Kilsheimer, CEO of KeyCE Structural Engineers PC in Washington, begs to differ on this, as he was the person who found the black box recorder of Flight 77. Though it's not clear when Alan arrived at the site of the Pentagon on September 11th, he claims that he was attending a meeting earlier that day on K Street, a metonym for Washington's lobbying industry, when he got a call from his office about the attacks. According to the forensic engineer, he arrived at 5 p.m. and stated, "I picked up parts of the plane with the airliner markings on them. I held in my hands the tail section of the plane." He went on to claim that he also found body parts and crew uniforms and passenger clothing at the scene, something else which has confused many, leading to criticism and disbelief of his story. It may be the lesser discussed event that took place on that day, but it's certainly one of the most bizarre and disputed. We'd love to know your thoughts and theory on this one,
So you don't
and whether
see
or
no
not you'd like
plane.
us to discuss more in depth the Pentagon attack.
I'd like to. It's just so frustrating.
News reports. Another theory from the conspiracy claimants occurred during the attacks on the Twin Towers, and is related to the controlled demolition scenario. Whilst the towers were ablaze, the BBC reported that Building 7 collapsed a full 26 minutes before the tower itself fell, leading to the suggestion that it was pre-arranged and that news outlets were in on the plot.
7 went
Or at
down
least some of them.
first?
In recent years, video links to the live BBC report went viral and led to all sorts of memes, questions and theories. The video clip shows a BBC News anchor by the name of Jane Standley discussing the events in New York as the events unfold. Whilst on air, Stanley states that Building 7 had collapsed, even though the building itself is behind her and still visibly standing. A short time later, however, when the report was finished screening, the tower fell, under what many claim mysterious circumstances. Could this have been a simple miscommunication or something more sinister?
Ah,
Richard Porter of BBC World News eventually responded to the rumours and to address the conspiracy directly on the editor's report from Tuesday the 27th of February 2007. He said, "We are not part of a conspiracy. Nobody told us what to say or do on September 11th. We didn't get told in advance that buildings were going to fall down. We didn't receive press releases or scripts in advance of events happening." When discussing the reports and on-air admission from Stanley, he stated, "I've spoken to her today, and unsurprisingly she doesn't remember minute by minute what she said or did. Like everybody
What?
else that day, she was trying to make sense of what she was seeing, what she was being told, and what was being told to her by her colleagues in London, who were monitoring feeds and wires services." He goes on to confirm that conveniently, the BBC does not have the original tape recordings from September
Of
11th,
course they don't.
or the coverage from their live reports,
Jeez.
admitting that it was merely due to a cock-up and not part of a wider conspiracy.
Yeah, it
20 years
just so
after the tragic
happens.
events in New York, BBC News released a report in September 2021 to confirm their sources of information during the unfolding of the terrorist attacks. The media giant relied on information from Reuters, another UK-based news agency. On the day of the attack, and while Stanley was live on air, they had circulated the news report that Building 7 had collapsed before it physically came down. The Reuters news agency had
So how did they know that? Why did building number 7 go down before the other World Trade Centers? That makes no sense.
mistakenly reported the collapse of the building, which was also picked up by CNN just before the live report BBC wrote.
Wonder how
As time
far
has gone by,
7
with
is.
the rise of the internet, social media, and 24-hour news cycles, it is safe to say that fake news is very real and a terrifying concept.
Yeah?
The possibility that the supposed misreporting on 9/11 was merely human error is something that is justifiably questionable.
I wonder where
Do you not
7
agree?
is. All right, so I misspoke. I thought there was up till like 11 World Trade Center buildings. So maybe it's not the World Trade Center 11 that I thought went down. It's number 7. But look where 7's at. It's between the Verizon building and the U.S. Post Office. But look how far it is away from World Trade Center 1 and World Trade Center 2. But World Trade Center 7 went down before World Trade Center 1 and 2 went down. I like to know that reason why. Number 1.
United 93.
Oh, Pittsburgh. Or Pennsylvania.
United Airlines Flight 93, as we know, was also tragically part of the 9/11 story, but
They
has
took
also
it down.
sparked rumours, debates and conspiracies in the aftermath of that tragic day. The flight itself was originally scheduled to depart Newark, New Jersey, and was destined for San Francisco in California. However, a group of 4 Al-Qaeda hijackers took control of the plane, intent on another terrorist attack. The recordings, investigative documentaries, and live reports state that the passengers fought back against the hijackers, resulting in the plane crash landing in a large field located in Pennsylvania, named Stony Creek Township. Subsequent reports claim that all 40 passengers on the aircraft died in the crash, as well as the pilots, crew, and hijackers. Yet there have been numerous theories surrounding United 93, which continue to this very day. One of the most prominent theories, as with all the attacks that occurred on 9/11, was that it was authorized and overseen by the United States government as a false flag operation. The reason for such an atrocity was to assign blame to Afghanistan and Iraq, thus providing them with justification to invade the regions and assume control of their natural resources, whilst boosting funds for the US military. One of the theories goes that the passengers on board United 93 had seemingly been informed that their own government knew of or were behind the attacks, and so the plane was destroyed by a military aircraft in order to permanently silence them and to conceal the truth.
What?
Apparently, there are numerous witnesses who claim to have heard a large explosion after catching a glimpse of a white-coloured aircraft, which was flying alongside the United Airlines commercial liner, the smaller jet disappearing after the airliner crashed in Stony Creek. Another claim is that the passengers were secretly removed from the plane and a replacement airliner was sent to take its place, again to keep those passengers quiet. Theorists believe that they were either murdered or sent to undisclosed locations by the US government. Interestingly, it has since been revealed that passengers aboard United 93 had certain jobs and careers that included an account manager for the Oracle Corporation, regional director for the Census Bureau of the United States, a vice president of a medical device company, and computer program designers and engineers. Despite the harrowing telephone calls from victims and an official recording from United 93 being released, where one can hear the pilot stating to the passengers, "Ladies and gentlemen, here is the captain. Please sit down, keep remaining seated. We have a bomb on board." The conspiracy theories continue to rage on.
Hoy.
So that's it for this video. That was 5 conspiracy.
There's a couple that I didn't realize, including the military craft that possibly shot down this one, the last one. I don't know. There's a lot that can go into this whole conspiracy theory when it comes to 9/11. If you want me and you guys joining me to dive down this deep rabbit hole of 9/11, comment below. Don't forget to hit the like button for the obvious reasons to find out the truth. That one day we'll either find out if this was a legit terrorist attack or if there was a conspiracy to remove people and certain top security things from being exposed. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, share with your friends. Let this video go out there and still try to pick up the people that don't know or are just learning about 9/11, because it's in the schools now. The schools are learning about 9/11. My kids just this past September, we're doing a project of where were you at when the 9/11 happened. And I just remember 7th grade geography, they turned on the TVs, and I just remember coming home. My mom was upset, crying, and my dad pretty much was stating what he believed and so forth. I think it was within the government of how this was orchestrated. Again, it's just my opinion. It's just my thoughts. I can't say for a fact that it is because there's so much out there to look at and listen to. And eventually, maybe we'll hit something on. If you has found any videos that you would like me to watch and react to when it comes to other conspiracy theories, send them to my Instagram or my Facebook, preferably Instagram. And we will see you guys in the next video. So please take care, be safe, and as always, keep nerding on. We will see you guys in the next video.